loves, and welcome back to the channel. Today I thought I would make this video because I think that is very well needed, especially with all the retrogrades that are happening, everything that's going on spiritually, and just everything that's going on. I thought that this video would be very well needed. So today we're going to be talking about spirituality and depression, and how to cope with this depression within your spiritual practice, and also as you just live your life, whether you are a spiritual person, and navigating that. Now, when it comes to this topic is something that is can be very heavy. I am not a medical professional and I am not giving you medical advice. While I do have a degree in psychology, I am not going to be talking about it in that specific context today. So just keep that in mind. I'm not giving you that guys that type of advice. I'm just specifically talking about what happens with when it comes to depression and going through different motions spiritually, which are not always easy to navigate. Now, when it comes to the spirituality and of the depression itself, the spirituality of depression, it can look like so many different things. I find that a lot of the time people go through a lot of different spiritual circumstances, especially for those who try to look at the spiritual community as just from a love and light perspective, can be very, very toxic because it's just not realistic. The love and light community can be very much full of spiritual bypassing, and spiritual I'm gonna make a separate video on spiritual bypassing because I do think it's very important to talk about spiritual bypassing, but specifically when it comes to depression, especially when it comes to the love and light community, and looking at spirituality just from a happy, joyful, if you're in a bad mood, or if you're like having weird energies or bad energies, if you're not happy and yippee all the time, if you cleansed your energies and you still feel like shit, then you're the bad thing, you're the problem. Like all of those kind of viewpoints are highly problematic in many different ways, because one, healing and your spiritual journey is not linear. It's not one line, one journey. There are relapses. There are different things that happen within your journey that can bring you back in different points, and sometimes the retrogrades trigger that kind of like you turn back, and then almost like that loop back and forth that happens within our own personal healing journeys. We are not perfect human beings. Like, I'm not a perfect human being. I don't want you guys to think that like I am like at home and I'm always yippee and happy and go lucky and I always got the answers to everything. One of the big things about my own spiritual practice is that I look at my spirituality, my practice, especially when I'm practicing brujeria, when I'm practicing my indigenous practices, when I'm practicing my specific practices, when I'm working with nature, when I'm working with the animal spirits, when I'm meditating, when I'm doing sound healing, all of the different types of things that I see as very much tools. I see it as medicine, right? Which is very much an indigenous perspective, to look at things and understand things as medicine. Because when it comes to looking at an issue, right? If you have a cut in your hand, you're going to need to make sure that, you disinfect it and that you bandage it up so it doesn't, get, bacteria, and then you have a whole nother issue. It doesn't, have, something happens to it and then it gets worse or something like that. It gets infected or something like that. Or like, let's say you are having a cold or feeling like you're getting a cold, using, medicines or plants or herbs that are really good for fighting those issues, right? I look at my spiritual practices the same way that I would target a cold. checking in on your spirit. And this is why throughout the summer we talked a lot about, and we did a lot of workshops about looking at your spiritual practice, looking at your emotional body, your spiritual body, your mental body, and your physical body when it comes to healing. There's a reason why we talked about that. And for those who didn't check out those, who were not here for those specific workshops, all of those are on Patreon. If you guys wanted to revisit those. I don't like to let any of my workshops go to waste. All of them are on Patreon. So you can always have access to all of them, all the meditations, all of the spells, all of the things that we do on there. They're all on Patreon. And this is one of the reasons why I focus so much on bringing awareness to you guys about different how you need to view your healing journey when it comes to analyzing where things are spiritually, mentally, spiritually, and physically, because those are all actively playing a role in how you're feeling. So for example, today we're talking about depression, which is very much in association to mental health, right? So that would be our mental body, right? How our mental health is, how we're processing things mentally, but that can be impacted by how we're emotionally feeling, how we're spiritually feeling, and also how we're physically feeling as well. So everything gets intertwined together. Everything's like sandwiched on top of each other, and it makes this beautiful sandwich that you get to eat. But if you mess up the sauce, if you use something that's like rotten, then the sandwich is going to taste a whole different, right? It's important to approach your practice in a way that makes sense. And to me, I like to look at anything that I'm working towards, or that I'm trying to heal or focus on or address in my life, as I need medicine for this. I need to heal this. I need to, address this in a way where I can, sort it properly. I have my moments where I go through depression sometimes. I have like sometimes, and it really is the transit. So like, I cannot stress that enough. Navigating your transit, sometimes there's times where it actively triggers your healing, actively triggers a lot of deeper introspection that can trigger moments of depression, or moments of, especially when it comes to looking at society. That's one of the things that tends to depress me a lot, is the state of the world, climate change, a lot of different things in that nature when it comes to community and people outside of my interpersonal communities, like the world wise and in this country and all that kind of stuff. That makes me hella depressed. Like when Roe versus Wade was overturned, and I was feeling everybody's energy, it was really, really, really heavy collectively, and it just felt very much like wanting to be very much away from that, because it was very much impacting me mental health wise. A lot of the times, just looking at the state of the world, looking at how we treat the planet, climate change, animals, that gets me hella depressed sometimes. And when I have those moments, I recognize that, one, there's times that I need to let those moments happen and pass, because that's another thing about looking at certain issues. There are certain issues that even when you have a cold and you take that herbal remedy that's supposed to help you process, that cold that you're having, you still have to also give it time to let it pass. So I like to look at my own spiritual practice and how coping with my spiritual practice and certain issues that come up spiritually as medicine. Like, okay, I took the medicine, like say I'm depressed about the state of the world. Like, let's say I'm just like in a funk, or like because of the state of the world, I'm just like feeling very down, or don't want to make videos, or don't want to like I'm just like in my head that specific day. I'm just very much in my head. I look at my trances and I'm like, okay, that makes sense. And then, but everything's happening within that day at that time, right? Well, then I would have to take a pause and focus on how I am addressing my spirit at that moment, how I'm addressing my mental health at that moment. There's different ways to address different things. For everybody, it's a whole different process. But as when it comes to mental health and depression, you do have to have your go-to things of how to cope with it. Now, there are certain things that are obviously going to be medicinal. For some people, they do take medication, they do take certain things. And I'm not saying not to take them. That's not what this video is about if you haven't caught on already. But what I'm saying is that I will specifically make sure that I know myself enough to know how to bring myself back to a state mentally where I'm okay again, where I'm not feeling super just like heavy emotionally from everything that's going on, from what I'm feeling about that specific thing, right? So I give it time to pass as well. So when I do the thing that I love to do, so I will throw myself into certain hobbies and stuff like that. Especially a lot of my indigenous hobbies, I will, focus on creating something. I will grab some clay and make myself something for my altar. I will clean up my altar sometimes. I know when you're depressed, there are some times where you just don't want to do anything. You're like very, very lazy. I will binge watch a show that I already know and love, and I will binge watch it from start to finish just because I know it's going to have moments where it's just going to make me happy. Now, I remember seeing a TikTok once that it was like, oh, if you rewatch a show, if you binge a show that you watched over and over again, you're like depressed, or it was like something, I can't remember what the thing was. And I was like, but it makes me happy. So what is the problem? Like, why is always gotta be a complaint about something? It's one of those things that just watching something that's familiar to me and that I find comfort in is medicine as well. It doesn't always have to be a crystal. It doesn't always have to be, even though they do very much help. Lepidolite is amazing for mental health. In just assisting your mental health and clearing up issues when it comes to your mental health and your crown area. It's just really, really a great crystal for that. I also, you guys know, I love smoky quartz for just absorbing negative energies and stuff like that. So usually when I'm processing, I'll have either one around me or on me. And while yes, I'll do a meditation, or I'll kind of follow the rhythm of what I want to do, to be honest. So let's say I am depressed and I'm craving totones with chicharrones or something like that, but I started working out and I know I shouldn't be doing it. I will like say, you know what? I'm gonna get myself that comfort food, because that's basically what my body is asking for. Like, I'm asking for the totones and the chicharrones because I'm like wanting that Dominican like comfort food that's really gonna make me feel better about whatever it is that's going on. And so like I'll say, okay, you know what, I'll do it. I'll have my comfort food, and once I have it, I'll make sure I'll put on that show, and I'll do something that I know is going to make me feel better, that I know it's going to assist me and help me. It's not always going to look spiritual though, because sometimes even when it comes to shows, for example, all types of forms of entertainment are ruled by Pisces. Pisces is ruled by Neptune, which also rules spirituality, because when it comes to all forms of entertainment, all forms of creativity and art, that is very much a spiritual creation. Your spirit has been called to within those moments, whether it went through something, like whether an artist is going through something, or whether they experienced something that they felt compelled to have to share in a specific way, or express it or release it, because that's the other thing about Pisces, that it rules reflection. So when I'm watching these shows, I'm trying to reflect, but I'm just doing it through art. I'm trying to transmute it through art. So somebody could just be listening to music. Maybe they have a go-to album when they're down that just really helps them kind of come back. Maybe they have their own, like, if you want to look at it through a more like spiritually focused way, you can work with the crystals, you can work with your ancestors, you can go to your altar. You guys know how many times I've gone to my altar and just like bawled to my ancestors? Like it's just, they're very comforting, and it works so well. They're very supportive, very comforting, and they're always there, but it's important for us not to look at how we can better ourselves when we're having dips and low moments. This is one of the reasons why I say you have to be your own best friend. I've talked about this so many different times, and you guys know this. I am an advocate for being your own best friend, because when you are having a tough day and you can't count on anybody else, even if you might have people that you can count on that are trying to make you feel better. At the end of the day, you know yourself the best, and it's important for you to have that really strong relationship with yourself, so when you're having a moment like this, you know exactly what you need. Whether it is you don't want to do anything in that moment, or whether you just want to scroll through TikTok for 5 hours, which can be a whole entire issue, but whether it is you're just trying to find a window to escape from in a creative way, or you're just trying to like mentally just take a break from your thoughts or something like that, it's important to know what medicine you need within those moments. And for me, it's like, I'll take a shower. Oh my God, how many times a shower has just been so healing. I'll take a shower. I will just, watch a movie. I'll eat something. I'm a big foodie, so I will eat something. I will cuddle with babe. Usually just being in the proximity of my wife makes me feel 10 million times better. But sometimes, she's at work. Like, let's say I'm feeling very down, or I'm like depressed or something that day, and she's at work or something like that, then it's just like I have to go through a couple hours without having that as an outlet around me. So I will focus. I'll go make sure I connect to my ancestors. I'll go straight to my altar, and occasionally, like, there's different spirits that I work through with mental health. Not only my indigenous ancestors, I know for certain members of my family, I work with Santa Clara with, because Santa Clara is the saint that rules over clarity and mental health. So she's amazing to work with for that. So anytime I like seeking that clarity, like, I'll also go to her altar and pray for not only myself but for whomever I'm working with at the time. But yeah, it's just it's about having a plan and understanding. It's almost like knowing what herbs you need to use for a spell. Like, if you need to do a spell that comes up kind of fairly regularly, knowing what ingredients are your go-to ingredients. It's the same thing when it comes to depression and mental health for me. Like, I feel like I need to have different ways for me to address that specific topic, so I can better and help myself and assist myself in the process of processing all of my thoughts and emotions when it comes to depression. And I wanted to talk about this topic because I feel like a lot of people don't. There's a lot of spiritual bypassing. We're gonna make a video, spiritual bypassing, but I don't want to ever make it seem to you guys like I'm just perfect, like everything is just, like, that's not real. Okay, I'm a person, I'm a human being, I'm in mistakes. I never want to be perceived as like a flawless person. I have a really big issue with people who think that people have to be perfect all of the time. Even though I understand perfection in many different ways, because you guys know I understand Virgo energy very well. I have my third house is in Virgo. So when a lot of the time when I'm talking to people, a lot of people are always tell me like, oh, you the way you explained it just made sense to me, or there's something about how you said it that it finally clicked to me, or whatnot. It's because of my third house in Virgo. Virgo in the third house, really amazing for being able to not only give verbal medicine, like the delivery. A lot of people literally will ask me to talk about a topic just because I am able to see things from a perspective that needs to be spoken about, which is dope. But I, at the same time, am aware that because I have to choose my words very carefully, in order for it to be understood in a certain way, that I have to be mindful of how I'm giving verbal medicine in that way, how I'm bringing awareness about a different topic. And I wanted to talk about this because I don't ever want you guys to think that everything is super perfect or anything like that. Like, healing is not linear. Nothing is like a straight line. Nothing is like super perfect all of the time. There's a lot of different spiritual people that will have you believe that everything is just, there is an illusion spiritually that people will put on for their lives to look a certain way, for their healing to look a certain way, like, which is really, really, really odd. And I really think it comes down to people not wanting to have the illusion of perfection, for others not to really know or think that, oh, they have something going on. But the truth is that everybody has something going on, and so it's important for us to have our medicine on deck and say, oh, you know what, I'm not feeling good today, let me take a ginger tea, let me drink some ginger tea, it's gonna help my stomach, it's gonna help me digest a little bit, it's gonna help me with my cold, whatever it is. Like, knowing those things is the same thing when it comes to other mental health issues, you having that awareness and being able to address it. So yeah, I wanted to talk about this because I feel like more people need to be talking about this. And there's a lot of spiritual bypassing, too much spiritual bypassing in the spiritual community. It's really, really annoying. I think people are, a lot of the time, are not being real with themselves, and there's too much love and light nonsense going on. I am all, like, you guys know I'm a Leo rising, so I present visibly to y'all. I'm always like yippee and happy, and oh, Abby always has a good vibe, and that's literally my Leo rising. You guys get to see my Leo rising all of the time because that's how I show up in the world, you know. And if you meet me in person, I'm a very happy person. But then one of the faults and annoyances about being a Leo rising is that when we're going through something and when we're not visibly yippee and happy, like, people will be like, oh my God, something's wrong. What's wrong with you? Being different. Like, it is almost like we're not allowed to go through shit. It's weird. Like, being a Leo rising, it's a trip sometimes. But I think it's important to be realistic, because even Leos rule the ego. The ego is not always yippee and happy. It goes through shit. It gets triggered. It has to change. It goes through a lot of evolution. It's a lot. It's a lot. So it's important to not have this visible, like, we're all perfect kind of thing, because it's weird. It's weird to think that life has to be perfect all of the time. I think for me, I seek balance and peace. You guys know I've been telling you guys this for the longest time. My biggest goal in life is to be at peace, because if I'm at peace, then I'm not worried about anything else. What am I worrying about? Nothing, because I'm at peace. Like, every aspect of my life is good because I'm at peace. Like, if I'm at peace, I'm literally one with nature. That's the way I see it for myself. So that's what I strive to be. That's my biggest goals, not only spiritually but emotionally, mentally, all of the I just want peace. And so when things are not necessarily in the best spot, I need to think about how I'm recalibrating and trying to bring more peace into my life. And that includes when I have those moments of depression, when I'm like down and like grouchy and I don't feel like doing anything, and I'm just like scrolling through TikTok, or just like trying to just like feeling stuck, or even texting my wife, like just feeling emotional or whatever, or just having a cry out, which crying is very healing in its own right, because it helps you release emotional energy. But it's really important to not, dismiss your own processes. There's a lot of different mental and psychological issues that were very much triggered due to colonization. It's part of colonial trauma, the way that we look at the world and the way that it impacts us and how we relate to each other. Like, anytime I see like stuff happening, like everything, even with Hurricane Fiona that just passed on my island and in Puerto Rico, very, very triggering, because I'm not over there right now, and also because that's my land. And indigenously, my ancestors would have been doing ceremony for Guabansesh, which is the semi that is in charge of hurricanes, as well as there would have been a whole entire different protocol as far as how we as a community, as a people, help each other. And so it's just a lot of frustrating things about it, and processing those emotions and looking at what the people have to go through is really hard when you're all the way over here, especially when you didn't want to be over here, but this is where we're at for now. But yeah, so I just wanted to talk about this topic because I feel like it's important. You guys know I don't like to water anything. Like, I don't like to water things down, and I'm never gonna love and like stuff for you guys. Like, my biggest goal of this platform is to help you guys heal, to help you guys grow, to help you guys get on track with yourselves, and to know how to take care of yourselves, to know how to empower yourselves. Okay, I'm all about bringing you guys and helping you guys self-empower yourself and know who you are and know your shit and feel very grounded with yourselves. My goal is to assist y'all with that, and I hope that this platform and helps as many people as it needs to. And And I call on as many people as need to heal or need to hear the messages coming through from me directly to partake and come through into our communities as well, because I think that's important. But I am never going to sit here and be like, so love and light, you have to, like, you know, I'm not going to do that. It's just toxic spirituality, and I'm not going to do that. So yeah, so we'll be talking about different types of topics, but I really wanted to talk about this today because I felt like right now, with all of the retrogrades, the next couple of months are not going to be happy-go-lucky. There's a lot of things being triggered right now. There's a lot of healing being triggered right now. There's a lot of generational trauma, generational issues, past life issues that are being triggered right now. And it has to happen. So you have to have your medicine ready to give yourself as these processes are happening, so you can, you know, calibrate back to what you love, the state that you love being in with yourself. So yeah, so I hope that you guys understood why we talked about this today, but we will be talking about more topics, including spiritual bypassing, because it needs to be talked about. I love you guys so much. Thank you guys for being here and for spending this time with me. I know I'm gonna stop ranting because you guys know I can talk a lot. I will see you loves in the next video. Have a very blessed day.